Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Journey of the Katana Hero by TheTrinity9 Chapter 3. The Shield Hero Trial. Lady Rimuru. Ake yelled, knocking on my door repeatedly. Something terrible has happened. You have to listen to this. I instantly dressed and grabbed my weapons and opened the door in a hurry. What happened? It happens that the shield hero was sexually assault his companion, Ake said in surprise. I gasped in surprise at this. No matter how you look at it, Naofumi was docile and bright-eyed. He smiled whenever he got the chance and looked towards things optimistically. To think he'd do such that thing is impossible. That kind of thing is more suitable to Motoyasu. Naofumi did. Really? That was the guards said. Sir Spear Hero is awaiting for them to bring the Shield Hero right now to confront him about the issue. While Sir Sword Hero and Bow Hero should be on their way, but I'm not too sure. I see. Are you planning to confront the Shield Hero yourself, Lady Rimuru? He asked. Yes. I still can't believe he'd do such that thing. I must see the trial myself to make my judgment, I answered. Rimuru-chan, did you hear what happened? That was Motoyasu's first question to me when I stepped into the throne room. It surprised me that his voice could reach such a seriousness. He wear a chainmail tunic armor, the same one as Naofumi's. I nodded while I walked towards the throne that the king sat on, which I gave my greeting to before addressing Motoyasu. He was standing just before the steps upwards, with mind scared out of her life. Though, it wouldn't matter if it was real or not, Motoyasu would probably believe her just the same. Such a simp. More or less. Naofumi did something, right? Yeah. He tried to rape his only party member. Could you believe that? The nerve of that guy pisses me off. Motoyasu was genuinely furious, and talked about him as if our lighted-hearted discussion on our first day never happened. To Motoyasu, Naofumi was already guilty. Mine goes out of her way with the kindest in her heart to help out Naofumi, and this is the thanks he gives her? Another footstep came behind me, as I turned to see who it was. Though, I already had an idea. It was Ren and Itsuki. Ren. Itsuki. You heard the news? Ren's face was brindled with emotion, and looked more serious than he usually was. His body was too tensed for something like this, but he trying to hiding it with his relaxed posture. Itsuki, however, looked really displeased and disgusted. Naofumi tried to rape his companion. I've heard. The news has been spreading quite quickly. Almost the entire town has heard about it at this point. If not, then they will by the end of the day. A cold statement to answer Motoyasu's question, wrapped around in a warm blanket. I can't believe someone like him who'd do something like that. I know, right? Now Itsuki exclaimed. The king is sending out his soldiers to capture Naofumi right now, and to bring him in for his punishment. Justice will prevail. Just a question before the soldiers get the chance to bring him in. What evidence convicts Naofumi of this crime? I asked. Evidence? Just look at mine. Rimuru-chan. Motoyasu stepped out of the way, so I could see the tear-stained face of hers. She clearly looks like she's been through something traumatizing. You should know better. We need to bring Naofumi the punishment he deserves. What I saw is just a fake tears. I frowned in disgust. Fine. Be that way. Don't worry, Rimuru-chan. I will protect you from him. I promise, Motoyasu declared boldly. Don't need to. I scoffed. The doors of the throne room had opened up, as the shouting of a certain shield hero had rummaged through towards the far side. Soldiers in bulk trudged him along, as he stepped forwards in front of the small crowd. He was still in his underclothing, staggering along the carpet. The soldiers stepped to each shoulder and pushed him to the ground, on his knees, before they slid the halberds' poles against his neck. His expression screamed of confusion. He was trying to listen to the soldiers' orders as best as he can, but he couldn't comprehend why they were resorting to rough force against him. He absolutely didn't know what was happening, and when he saw the four of us, there was a brief moment of relief in his eyes. Needless to say, it was short-lived. Wait, Motoyasu, why are you wearing my chainmail armor? You're the thief? Thief? Who here is a thief? If anything, Motoyasu took a step forwards, brazenly pointing at Naofumi. You're the most likely to be a thief, you scoundrel. What? Scoundrel? Me. One of the ministers stepped forwards and cleared his throat. We will now hear the charges against the shield hero. Charges? Motoyasu held in girl in his arms. Her sobbing filled the room quickly. As she spoke, I realized that she was lying. The shield hero drank too much, she said in her tears, and he bursted into my room, holding me down. Wait, what? Now Fumi's confusion was only branching out from the main sequence further. He started to rip my clothes off. Then she was holding onto Motoyasu tightly. I screamed and escaped the moment I could. That's nonsense. I went to sleep immediately after we ate. Liar. Motoyasu's shout was filled with anger. His face twisted as he damned Naofumi to his place. If that's the case, then mine wouldn't be crying this much. Motoyasu. Why are you believing her? Naofumi clicked his tongue, finally discovering that trying to convince Motoyasu was a waste of energy and breath. He was already tangled in the girl's obvious lies. He turned to the king, trying to make his own pleads. Your Highness. Look, I've been robbed of all my equipment and money, there's no way I was the one to. Silence. Scoundrel. Naofumi's attempt was dismissed immediately. The king didn't even try to listen to what Naofumi had wanted to say, baffling the shield hero. His eyes were twitching in disbelief, as he couldn't comprehend what's going on. Blind charged for a crime he didn't even know, also he didn't get a change to explain. Yep, rotten kingdom. This is a mistake. This has to be a mistake, I didn't do it. I knew you would show your true colors eventually. I thought that feeling I had about you wasn't wrong. Motoyasu. I found it hard to believe that someone like you was summoned here with no experience. What a lie. Ren. You think you're entitled? I've never thought you would stoop so low like this. Ayatsuki? They all assumed that Naofumi was guilty without much to think about it. It must have been some cruel joke to Naofumi, as the light in his eyes began to die. His head turned to me in last hope. Rimuru. Please say something. Please believe me, I didn't do anything. I didn't answer his pleading. My eyes are focused to one detail. The reason why this all happened to Naofumi, mine Sufia, or rather, the princess, merely stuck her tongue out mockingly at Naofumi. Sorry, Your Majesty. I believe this trial is unfair. I suddenly spoke, surprising everyone while Naofumi looked relief. Why would you said that? The king asked. This trial is clearly fair. Oh yeah, you don't even let Naofumi defend himself against an accusation that could get him killed? Just from one person's word? Just how stupid this trial can be? How dare you? I dare because this is a serious problems with justice if a woman can get a man sent to his death just by claiming she was abused even if there was consent or nothing happened between them. Imagine how many innocent men have died because of this fair trial. The king was clearly on the edge of exploding like volcano, merely for my words. She's right. Itsuki commented, causing everyone including the king fall silent. Really, Itsuki? Motoyasu asked, displeased. I've heard similar case back in my world, but I was never certain of how truthful they were, Ren stated. Silence. The king shouted again, trying to regain control of the situation. Think guys, why do you think they don't want Naofumi to explain his reason? The king blindly said that Naofumi is guilty because he is the shield hero. This is what you expect from the king of nation whose main religion is what it is. What do you mean Rimuru-chan? Motoyasu asked, while Naofumi just silently took note how all the nobles, king and mine, or the bitch winced and became too pale. Motoyasu-sama, you don't need to hear her, mine said, trying to catch Spear Hero's attention. But still Melromark's religion has nothing to do with this, the king exclaimed. Oh, but it is. Your religion, the Church of Three Heroes, claims that the shield hero is the demon and his only purpose to destroy God's perfect creation. Humanity, I said. Say what? Naofumi, Motoyasu, Ren and Itsuki exclaimed in unison. She's right. Ake told the heroes, who turned to look at him. You know about this? Well, yes. Most people in Melromark are thought to hate the shield hero by the church, although mostly it's only the zealots who actually follow though. I myself consider this hatred irrational. Most of Ren's companions nodded. It's clear now. But first, Naofumi. I addressed the shield hero. What did you do after having a dinner with mine? I went to my room after I was done in sleep. I don't even drink a wine and alcohol never affected me. And this morning, I found my money and armor was stolen. Naofumi answered in calmer voice. It's clear now. Maybe a zealot disguised himself as shield hero, stole his equipments and attacked mine, thinking he would already won heaven by doing so. We need to hear this version too. How can there be justice like this? Itsuki asked, but the way he mentioned justice made everyone turn to him. Still, you need to prove that Naofumi didn't rape mine, Ren said. As far as we can tell, Naofumi raped her because he's drunk, sell his armor and spend all his money to buy wine. This can be happened too. Well, that's true, I answered. That's why we will prove the innocence or guilt of the shield hero. What could prove the innocence or guilt of the shield hero? Need I remind you that the victim is in the same room as us? The king thundered, while mine clinged onto Motoyasu, hiding her face. I know your majesty, and I mean no disrespect, but Naofumi mentioned that his armor and money was stolen. I said before turned to Motoyasu. Motoyasu, where did you get that armor? Mine gave it to me, he answered. She said it was the gift for me to protect her from Naofumi. Your armor is Naofumi's stolen armor, I said, surprising everyone. I know because I met him and mine in forest, and I clearly remember that was Naofumi's armor. Lady Rimuru, are you implying that Miss Mine stole the shield hero's armor and money? It a serious accusation that you are implying. It's not true. I couldn't do any of that to shield hero, your majesty, Mine exclaimed. It's true, she's innocent, she couldn't do any of that, Motoyasu stated. Motoyasu had only known Mine for a day, and already he was willing to go so far for her? I apologize if what I said was taken that way, your majesty. I replied, trying to keep calm. But what I meant to say is, the misguided zealot from the church could stole Naofumi's armor and money, selling them to some merchants before attacking mine by disguising as Naofumi, taking advantage of the darkness to cover any imperfections in his disguise. And this morning, mine maybe buy the armor from the same merchant and give it to Motoyasu. And according to mine, Naofumi attacked her while he drunk, while Naofumi stated he didn't drink any wine and alcohol can't affect him. Since when did you become his lawyer, Rimuru? Ren asked, confused that I actually doing my best to protect Naofumi. Mine has Motoyasu to speak for her while everyone just blindly blame Naofumi while he didn't even get a chance to talk. I think it's obvious, I answered. But mine. Save it, Motoyasu. Itsuki stopped him. So, what's your idea? Ren asked. I suggest to give Naofumi something that make him drunk. Let's see if his words are true, I suggest. If so, please eat this, Sir Shield Hero. One of Ren's companion. Botka give Naofumi a deep red berry in same size as strawberry. It's not poisoned, is it? Naofumi asked, looking at the red fruit. In his hands, it felt like an oversized grape, and its smell was sweet but not cloying. Most importantly, he could tell nearly everyone, save for the other heroes, was watching close, and perhaps even gleefully, as he handled the berry. No, it's not. Botka replied, and shrugging, he ate the berry. It did indeed taste as sweet as the smell promised, and there were other touches he could not identify. Not the best thing he had ever eaten, but certainly good enough. As he swallowed, the nobles broke out in whispers, and loud enough that the heroes could tell what they were saying. I can't believe he convinced him to eat a rukolu berry. I never thought I'd see a devil die in front of me. The shield devil is done for. The 4 remaining heroes will save us from the waves now that he's out of the way. Sadly for them, they did not realize that us, the heroes, could easily hear everything that was being said in the royal throne, pretty much confirming that what Ian Ake had said was truthful. Melromark's own religion taught its people to hate one of the people that had been summoned to protect them. Even Motoyasu was angry on Naofumi's behalf. Congratulations, bastards. You played yourself, I thought in satisfaction. What is this fruit? It's so tasty. Can I have another one? Naofumi's voice ripped through the room like lightning in thunderstorm. Sure. Botka replied as he handed him another one. The last one though. I like this berries too. Can you tell me where I can buy more? Ho. How is this possible? One noble, clearly speaking for the others, yelled. The chamber quickly bursted into more hushed whispering, and a few of the attending nobles even ran away from the castle with blatant fear making them shake from head to toes, while I and the other heroes were left stunned at what was happening. What's so special about these berries? Itsuki asked. Rulu berries have an enormously high concentration of alcohol. The only way they can be safely consumed is by diluting a berry's juice and mashed pulp in an entire barrel full of water, Botka answered. I widened my eyes in shock. That means Naofumi just ate the food that actually equivalent to a full barrel of wine? And nothing happened to him? Damn, he's blessed by the wine god. Meanwhile, the heroes reacted in different ways. Ren's eyebrows rose. Itsuki's mouth hanged open. Motoyasu looked with envy at Naofumi. Their various companions reacted in similar ways, save for Botka, who was looking at Naofumi with shining eyes that I really did not want to know the reasons for. As he said, I continued. Naofumi just ate the fruit that equivalent to a full wine casket, let alone two. And yet, nothing happened to him. Are you sure you are fine, Naofumi? Yeah. He replied while he ate the second one. As I said, alcohol doesn't affect me. How did you know this would happen, Rimuru? Itsuki asked. I'm not. I replied. I just remember my parents' advice. If you stated something, you must prove it. Naofumi stated alcohol never affect him. I just merely proved that statement. Meanwhile, Mine's reaction was of complete shock, and her skin paled so much that I could swear I can see through her, as if she was a ghost. But I saw the shield hero drinking wine with me, she exclaimed, unable to accept the reality. That hell of a fruit can't even get him drunk, let alone a little glass of wine. I countered. Maybe a zealot attacked you in your sleep to make you point at the shield hero and get him killed by the crown. Peeved. Losing in your own game. You are right, Lady Katana hero. Fa your majesty. I wish to withdraw my accusation against the shield hero. Are you sure, Miss Mine? The king asked. After seeing how Katana hero managed to counter all the accusations and shield hero ate the berries who could kill a normal person after the first, he completely done with the day. Yes, your majesty. Find that horrible man who did this to me and Sir Shield Hero. As you wish. Heroes, you must register on Melromark's hourglass and prepare for the next wave. Now, I have to attend to other matters. Have a good day. The king and his advisor left the throne room, and us with our parties were escorted to the castle gates. Hey, Rimuru. Naofumi addressed me when we walked away from the castle. Thank you for believing in me. No problem. I shrugged. I realized this trial is just an excuse to kill you because you are the shield hero. And mine was the part of it. That bitch. He grunted in anger. Yesterday, she acted so pleasant, and I actually believed her to be sincere in her behavior and offer. Now, I know all of that is just a bullshit. If you weren't there, I would be dead or the most wanted man in kingdom. But unfortunately, Sir Naofumi, you still need to clear up your name since the rumors has already spread, Ake said. I know. Naofumi sighed. It will be hard, and yes, it was. When we arriving at the merchant district, everyone looked at Naofumi with either anger or disgust. Man, this is serious. If this continue, all the work I did before is useless, but I can't do anything right now since everyone believed that crap, I grimly thought. Hey, kiddo, I want to talk to you. All of a sudden, someone grabbed Naofumi by the cape and dragged him to a nearby alley as I and Ake followed them. That person turned out to be a bald man, who smashed him against a wall and rose his fist. I heard what you did to your companion. I want to tell you many things, or rather my fists want to. Put him down. I demanded while preparing my katana, or I will cut those hands of yours. Stay out of this, lady. He snapped before he looked at Naofumi's eyes as he was ready to strike, but one look on his eyes was already enough to lower his hand. Shit. All right, you on. Let's go to my shop, we can talk there without being overheard. And then, we entered his workshop, and he quickly gave Naofumi some proper clothes and armor. As he did so, he introduced himself to me before we spoke about Naofumi's future. Erhard pointed out that he would still need some companions, not just fighting off the waves, but to survive training against the many monsters he would find, and gave him a few tips. I also gave him information about the weapons that I got yesterday, which surprising Naofumi. So, how can I got a companions while everyone already hated me? Naofumi asked grimly. Not that I can trust anyone beside Rimuru, Ren and Itsuki. Or you want to join my party? Elhard laughed heartily. Heavens no, I'm strong, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I could protect you from everyone in the kingdom. Besides, I still have my business here. And people at the church would go after me if I joined you. Enhard became serious once more. I'm not a fan of it, but I think you will be a better slaveholder than most other people. What? Naofumi muttered in disbelief. You maybe don't know this, but slavery is legal in Melromark. I chimed in. I hate it too, but if you're willing to not trust anyone beside me, Ren and Itsuki, slave is your best option. Also, I can join your party if you want. Thank you, Rimuru, I appreciate it. Naofumi smiled. No problem, I said as I joined his party. Attention. Rimuru Arashi and Ake Rolf joined the party. Naofumi blinked. Do we normally get a notification of party members joining us? Yeah. You didn't know that. Naofumi never saw such a thing before, but mine had been enlisted with him as a party member before. The difference started to grow when he noticed that he could see my health subsetted underneath his own. He never saw any health bars underneath when mine was with him. So that means mine didn't even join your party? I asked. That bitch must be planning it all along. Naofumi grunted in anger. Damn her. And you still level 2? I asked in surprise. Damn, you completely fooled by her. Don't remind me. You make me look like an idiot, he sighed. Anyway, where I should go to buy a slave then? The man you need is named Bellucas. He set up his shop in this city some years ago. Short and nasty little guy, give me creeps, Enhard said. How can you be so sure slave doesn't betray us? Naofumi asked again. A slave can't go against what their master orders them to do, no matter what the order is. They have a special slave crest branded on them that binds them to their master. With it, they're unable to lie. Unable to steal. In short, they're unable to harm you or turn on you in any way unless you allow them to. Otherwise, their crest punishes them. Naofumi put his hand to his chin in thought. It almost sounded too good to be true, yet it was cruel too. But whether he liked it or not, he didn't know what else to do. But I already have Rimuru and Ake. That means I don't need any slave anymore, Naofumi said. We need more party members, Naofumi. I reassured him. We can't defeat waves with just 3 of us. We need at least 1 or 2 more party members. All right, you win. Naofumi sighed. So where do I find this Bellucas fellow? Then Enhard explaining the place and the street while Naofumi write it on the paper. I still need the money to buy the armor and slave. Naofumi sighed, but I will pay it, I said as I give 300 silvers to Enhard. Since now I'm your companion, my money is yours too. And Enhard, I want to order a stronger armor for Naofumi. This is personal request, so make sure to do your best. If you say so, pretty lady, he take the money from me. Thanks again, Rimuru. Naofumi gladly said. Thanks are not needed. You are my teammate, remember? I smiled back. Now, let's go to this slave trader's place. After going through the labyrinth of alleyways upon the underside of the capital, we saw that there was a wide opening. Within the center was a wide circus tent. I would have never guessed something like this was in the capital. But, after I heard everything, it was not that surprising. Then, the pudgy man named Bellucas, it was his name, was it? Opened up the entrance for us with devious smile. Welcome, welcome. How may I help you, sir? Yes. I had started my adventuring journey and I have some trust issue. Naofumi answered. I heard this was the place for that. Bellucas's smile only widened at that. Of course, Mr. Shield Hero. Right this way, I'll show you my selection. With a deep breath, we walked into the tent, with me walk behind Naofumi. When we entered the tent, we froze. Shit. This was worse than I imagined. The smells is really awful. Before us were cages among cages within the dreary darkness, alight only by a few flickering torches. Bodies within each and every one that he could see as their eyes wandered towards us. Damn, this places gave me shivers. I took a look at some cage and found all the slaves are demi-humans and beastmen. So, your whole slavery business is legal because the slaves you sold are demi-humans and beastmen. Am I right? I asked. Foo. Indeed they are, Lady Katana Hero. Bellucas nodded. Melromark believe humans are of the higher race to other species. That's why you never saw any human slaves in this country, only demis and beastmen. Even in the world with heroes and magic, racism is still an issue. I grimly thought. Let's get over with then. This place made me sick. Bellucas tipped his top hat. Have you two finished up your decision? I always allow my customers to take their time, but be careful when pushing it. Naofumi's solemn expression appeared when he turned to the slave trader, masking up his emotions. Oh. Hurry up and show us what you have. Fu. As you wish, Sir Shield Hero. Beast men are quite useful for what you're looking for. When it boiled down to it, it felt like Bellucas truly wanted the best for his customers, going out of his way to explain a few things for them. Most of my clients seek out the stronger beast men in my they look rather monstrous. It is for a good reason. Their natural combat abilities are typically higher, and for that, they are mostly used as bodyguards or arena fighting. They will prove to be helpful in your particular case. Demi-humans, on the other hand, are much more versatile in their uses. The same ones that you may know of already, considering you knew the terminology for it. Despite their appearances, they have as much monster blood in them as beastmen do. For humans, they certainly are better for the visual appeal for those who cannot stand the sight of beastmen. The males may be useful for manual labor, whereas the females don't. I told him with slightly menacing tone. Naofumi needs someone to fight for him, not to do that. Of course. His intentions are not my business. I'm merely giving him an options. A bad options, mind you? As Naofumi looked around through instinct, he noticed an odd sight. For all the cages that were present in the tent, they were all lined up to form a type of makeshift hallway. To present products as such, it was an obvious thing to do, but there was one lone cage off the beaten path that was covered in a tarp. He stopped, staring at the covered cage. It caused Bellucas, me and Ake to stop as well, looking over to what caught the shield hero's attention with such vivid curiosity. As he came closer, he started hearing hoarse and weak coughing. His hand reached out slowly to the tarp, but he couldn't find the strength to pull on it. Something told him he didn't want to see what was underneath this tarp. If you're going to get some resolve to do this, I said, you better see it until the end. Yeah. Naofumi took a deep breath. I know. On the silent count, we pulled on the tarp at the same time to reveal what Naofumi was afraid of seeing. He knew he should have expected this outcome the moment that he was made aware that slavery was part of this world's current reality, but it was another experience to see it before his eyes. It did not make it any less disgusting. Under the tarp, staying within the darkness, there was a young girl who looked like 10 years old. It was a girl with brown hair, ruffled with dirt as if it wasn't brushed in a long time. 2 round ears on her head twitched weakly as she breathed raspfully. She slowly gazed upwards at the people who gave a dim light over her cage, only for her to quickly avert her gaze out of fear. Her body was shaking nervously. Her voice was barely audible. I immediately trembling in anger at the appearance of the girl. This was the first time I had ever come across a child that was being mistreated in such a way. She was practically skin and bones, malnourished past the point where it was safe. It was obvious that she was on the verge of dying in this dark cage. What kind of devil who did something terrible to this child? I thought in anger. I would advise that you should not be tending to slaves that are underneath tarps. Bellucas walked over, calling us. Those slaves are to be disposed of since they are becoming unsellable to customers for one reason or another. For what my suggestion is worth, please do not concern yourselves with this product. I have a standard for what I sell to my customers. Naofumi didn't hear what Bellucas said. His lips moved before he could think. How much is she worth? As I said, she is not for sale. It is against my policy to allow customers to buy slaves in their poorest condition. Where were you even leading us anyways? Naofumi leered at the slave trader at the corner of his eyes. Were you trying to lead me over to some of your best slaves for me to see? Are you not interested in my best? Your best is technically your most expensive, would it not? I asked him. We could ever afford them, but I think you already know that. Bellucas let an amused chuckle out. It appears that you have a fine eye for these types of details, Lady Katana Hero. I ignore his praise. He's looking for someone cheap and affordable. You said that she was in poor condition, right? I suppose you wouldn't mind if we took her off your hands. Are you sure about that? Bellucas glanced over to the young girl as well. She has issues with her health, alongside the constant panic attacks she suffers during the night. I fear that she may not even live long enough for you to receive worthwhile usage out of her. My professionals say that she has a week or 2 to live at most. She's not great in combat or manual labor, both of which would be important to serve your needs. Once again, this is not the slave I would be showing you. I have a lizard man and a rabbit demi-human that would best fit the description of what you need. That's not necessary. All that you said just told me that she'll be quite the cheap slave. Beside, Naofumi wants her. And you're willing to take her off my hands? She is still one of the products, mind you. I will still charge my normal price. Doesn't matter. How much for her? 40 silver coins, with free slave crest, he answered. As I took up and counting the coins, Naofumi knelt to see the girl somewhat closer. He kept his distance to make sure she wasn't scared so suddenly, but then he noticed something. She has some heavy bruises and scars. These wounds were recent. Her previous owner was someone who loved torture. He would buy slaves in order to. Here. Take your money. I harshly gave him a pouch of 40 silver coins. As Bellucas nodded to our decision, he opened up the cage and tried to grab the girl's chain, tugging it lightly. Out of fear, she refused, but when he tugged harder, she ended up silently following the slave trader. Naofumi and me kept our eyes on the slave trader, to see if he would do anything suspicious about the transaction, but it simply led to them arriving into a cleaner room within the tent where there was a type of station prepared. A few of his men managed it. For the transaction to be completed, I'm obligated to provide you with registration in the form of a slave crest for your product. One of his men provided Bellucas with a penknife which was passed on to Naofumi alongside a small dish that had some ink inside already. Naofumi took the penknife and gazed at the dish. Is there something I should sign here? No, nothing like that. Please drop some of your blood into the ink. It's how we can ensure that she'll listen to you and only yourself. Naofumi pulled out the sharp extension and pricked his finger, letting a few drops drip into the ink. He was a bit surprised that a knife would be able to make him bleed like that opposed to the balloon monsters that couldn't bite through his skin, but he wasn't in combat right now. It might have made some sense if he thought about it. The workers then took a brush and mixed the red color into the black before they went over to the little girl, painting some type of circle on her chest. It then sparked into a purple color. The brush left her skin. Jiga. Ah! A dry scream called out to them, causing us to flinch in the noise. Bellucas stood by to stop us from moving in, notioning that this was part of the normal procedure. Once it finished and her screaming died down, a notification popped up before Naofumi's eyes. Attention, slave acquired. Conditions have been added to the menu. He quickly saw through the follow-up, noting that it was simply a set of rules of what the slave can and can't do, but nowhere did it really restrict his own actions onto the slave. One more thing popped up. Attention, slave A joined the party. And with that, our business is done. I hope to see you again, Bellucas said. After that, we began to leave the tent. Naofumi beckoned the slave to follow, but she was a bit slow and reluctant. We left the tent and traveled through the alleyways back to the main streets without much issue, but I stopped before we had to split up from each other. I glanced back at the slave and grimaced, seeing her make such a miserable expression. I can't imagine what kind of hell she's going through, I sadly thought. The status magic called her Slave A, but sure it wasn't her real name. My name's Naofumi. He introduced himself. What's your name? She remained quiet, but he tried smiling to boost her comfort. I'm sure it's a nice one. She turned away and didn't answer. Naofumi sighed, thinking that it would be best to take this slowly, but I suddenly walked up to the slave and reached out for her. Instinctively, she winced, but I wasn't going to hurt her. Her hair is a mess. We'll clean her up soon, right? Yeah. She's not dying on our watch. Naofumi's words were fierce and filled with compassion. I brushed the slave's hair with my fingers, trying to get some of the bigger clumps of dirt out. She realized how gentle I was doing it and eased up, looking at both of us. We're not going to hurt you. My voice was quiet. We really needs your help. We are in some trouble, and even though he had a choice for picking someone better, he decided to save you. My hands escaped her hair as I knelt down to her eye level. That's why I'm counting on you on that. I can't always help him. Although her voice was sore, she managed to make a small but unsure tone. I will. Thank you, little one. I smiled at her. As I stood up, Naofumi wryly smiled at us. It seems my method success to break the ice between us. Our Raftalia. That's my name. It's Raftalia? She nodded. Well then, my name is Rimuru Arashi. It's nice to meet you, Raftalia. I patted her head, while she looked at me in awe and amazement. Goddess. She thought in awe. Suddenly, Naofumi's menu that held her name as Slave A was converted to her proper name. Let's heading off now, I said as we start walking again. Naofumi glanced over to Raftalia and extended his hand to her, but her stomach growled. You must be starving after being locked in that cage. Let's find some proper food for you. Raftalia slowly took his hand as we finally walked out to the streets together. He knew it was a bit bad to be thinking like this, but his mind felt refreshed. After Rimuru defended him from the false charge, all pretenses that loomed over his head disappeared in the moment. Seeing this light starting to glow, he couldn't help himself to wonder perhaps this was where his journey truly began for him, to be continued.